All right, hey everybody, it's your course director, Emily Ray here. Just wanted to give you a little bit of positive, productive feedback on these portfolio websites that you recently submitted last week. So we're going to run through a few from Portfolio 3, a few from Portfolio 6 on campus, and a few from Portfolio 6 online. I think that there is a great benefit to you guys seeing each other's work and seeing it get critiqued so that you can learn from each other's design intent and choices and also get inspired by how each of you is presenting your unique work and contributions. So we're going to start here with Jamal. So we have the name, the brand up here, the identity, home shop, book online, and blog. Kind of a colorful image. We've got you kind of down here at the bottom. You're not really the focal point of the image, right? This area is, and your name's kind of pushed a little bit down, kind of closer to your picture. It says that you're a veteran, a graphic designer, a videographer, and a writer. Kind of as I scroll down here, I get a little more about kind of what you provide. So here I see some pizza design. Talk a little bit more about what you specifically mean in terms of the skill set and what it is and how you're applying it. A link, it seems, to your email address. I can see that in the bottom left-hand corner of the page. That's not taking me to a form itself. A little bit about you, kind of have a professional summary here. I know that your background is in military, and so I would recommend, since you are, you give me kind of like like a patchwork quilt of identity here for your portfolio site. So we do see that you are a veteran, and so it makes sense that you would talk about, what you did in that space. But again, one of the opportunities you have moving forward is to it's not just an opportunity, but it's going to be a challenge, right? And it's how do you package and promote all of the things that you did in the military and explain them in a way that shows value in civilian life. And so you're going to really have to work to find the words to help translate that. One of the things here, just sort of stylistically, is that anytime you use bullets, you always want that to be left aligned. Bullets are used as a scanning formatting, right? So that you can have this consistent starting point with all the bullets. You talk about me, it would be nice to have a picture of you here just as a relevant and proximal place to put an image of you. We've got a quote, and then just kind of a phone number that's floating down here. So my recommendation would be to move this image up higher, the focal point of it, and have your name a little bit more off here in this white space, so there's not as much distraction behind it. When you have a layering of objects, right? So here we have text on top of an image. Whatever's on the top needs to be clearly seen and or read. So you want to make sure that you're styling that appropriately. Over to shop. So this is going to open up a new page that showcases, I'm guessing, where you anticipate selling products. Right now it's just a lot of placeholder content. Here, this would be a place that I'm presuming that we could book your services. I see a lot of students do this, but realize that you're going to have to configure this to be applied to whatever calendaring application that you use, and that you would have to make sure that your calendar application only made available the times that you wanted to meet clients. So it seems like a fun thing to add, but it's really, there's a lot of tie-in that you would have to do for scheduling. Under blog, this page is loading in, and I can see that this is what a blog would look like here, but that you just have placeholder content. So I'm really just going to quickly jump back to the home page. As I scroll down, under what you've done, right, like this heading or what you provide, there's really no demonstration of these things, right? I see this one pizza graphic, but that's about it, right? And so like there's a real opportunity and a real lack of any sort of proof of your skills, of that, of what you do for graphic design or what you do with Photoshop or videography work, or even writing, right? So you have 10 years of experience, but your blog only has placeholder content. So these would be the areas that I would definitely spend time, iterating on the site before your next portfolio class. So here we've got Q with the camera. We're looking at Quentin's site. So, looking at some of photography here. We've got kind of a fun logo. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Obama logo. Scrolling down, just again, Q with the camera, a way that we can check out your Instagram and then book you in this space. So, you have cue with the camera here and cue with the camera here. That's a bit redundant, right? So I'm wondering like if this space could be used for a little bit of this about information, right? So we've got you, we've got this kind of nice little bio about what it is that you do. And so like if this site is about you and your skills, it stands to reason that there would be some biographical information here, some identity, right? So it's like cue with the camera, but we don't really know who that is until we come over here to the about page. I think that is a missed opportunity to introduce yourself to your visitors more immediately. Jumping over to portraits, so here just seeing a little bit of your portraiture work. As I click on one of these, it's opening up in kind of a different light box effect. And a lot of times when people use these slideshows or these light box, Wix or whatever content management system that you're using will default to put the file name in terms of the title of the image. And so I'm glad to see that you remove that, because many times the file name, something to the effect of DSC100265.jpg, isn't really relevant to the image that we're looking at, and kind of takes away because it's irrelevant in being here. So I'm glad to see that you've kind of like stripped away things that might distract from what we're here to see, which is your portraiture work. We've got automotive, so I'm going to jump over here, see this stuff. It looks great. You have a lot of talent. We've been on the about page, so contact, just a simple form, and then book online. So we've talked a little bit about the need for these book online modules or widgets to align with your calendar. So right now, let's just say I wanted to book you for it looks like I can only book you on Tuesday through Friday. So I'm wondering if maybe it already does have your hours known in here and linked in here with your regular calendar. So if you did, that's awesome. It's certainly part of streamlining your business process. But again, for those of you who are just kind of floating it in your site for now, I want you to know the very real need to link it to a calendaring system that you keep up with. Overall queue, there's a few things that you could do to make this site even stronger, but this isn't a great place for where you are right now in Portfolio 3. I'm going to jump to Portfolio 6 online. So this is Joseph's site. Your logo up here in the corner, this decorative text that you use, and by decorative, I mean just something that's scripted. It's got some elegance and some ornateness to it. It's a little bit difficult to read in all caps. And then also because you have it over a number of different colors. So my recommendation here would be a couple of things. One, to make this bigger. Two, to limit the colors that you have here in this space, making sure that there's enough adequate color contrast, and to choose a script or a font that is easier to read so that we can more clearly make the association that J-Beam matches Joseph Beamer here. So we've got home, my mission, works, blog, contact. So we've got this nice image of you and kind of a backstory about who you are and how you came to be in MCBS. You talk a little bit about your goal, which is awesome. And what you want to be using your skills for in terms of content creation. I've got your social media stuff down here. It's nice to see that it is in fact linked. A lot of times people forget to do that, and it's linking out to Wix, social media platforms. So I'm glad you have that all buttoned up. You're talking a little bit about your mission here, and what stands out to me is a couple of things. One, that this is a pretty dense paragraph of text. Is there a way that you can break it up into smaller chunks, make it more scannable, more easy to read? This green is a little against sort of the background, which has this image behind it. It can be a little bit hard on the eyes, a little bit difficult to read. I know that you have this like dark, opaque shadow over the image to kind of provide a little bit more of a container or more of contrast here on the text itself. But my recommendation would be for you to potentially remove this image or use it where it's like a featured image next to the text, because just having it float behind makes it a little bit harder to read, both in terms of the distraction behind the text, but also the contrasting on color there as well. So works is going to take me to some of your portfolio stuff. So you have image work, video work. I'm going to click on one of these, see what happens. It's a poster board, and it says don't let creativity go bland and stale. So it's a poster board. I'm not quite sure what that means in terms of I'm not sure how that's a relevant title for me to understand what we see here. If this was an assignment, if it was a project, tell us a little bit more about that. Like, what was your approach, so that we have some context to understand the content of what we're seeing, right? So here, this looks like a style guide, right? But it says just professional images. This is a style guide. It's designed to make sure that anybody creating content under the Joseph Beamer brand stays on the right color palette and with the right typography. That might be something that you just want to list over here so that people understand what it is that they're seeing. Under video work, I'm going to go ahead. Well, it looks like this is going to autoplay. I have a couple of recommendations. One is that you never want your videos to autoplay. You always want that to be a choice. Two, you would do well to include a custom thumbnail, right? That is to say that you are cementing the image that someone sees, so developing that. Also, anytime you do a video, it would help to go ahead and to talk about, what's the title of the video? What was the focus of the content? And what roles did you play in its creation, right? So video can require a lot of different talent, from shooting to editing to sound mixing. And if you did everything, make sure that you are noting that you did that. It gives a more full picture of your skill set. If we go to blog here, it's going to pull up some blog posts that you've created. So this is great. I'm a big fan of blogs on portfolio websites as a demonstration of your writing skill, but it's also a great place to contextualize the projects and the things that you're working on. For example, if you had a video that you were sharing on your portfolio and you wanted to talk more about who you made it for and what their mission is, or what happened after you made the video, or what you learned from shooting the video itself, a blog would be a great place to do that. And then just last but not least, we've got contact, a simple form, reach out anytime here. I'm always going to ask you guys to put a pretty specific call to action. What's your portfolio site for? Is it to show a potential employer that you have this skill set? Is it to get clients? Because those are two different objectives. So if you want business, say something on here that talks about you in a way that would let people know that. And if it's just that you're sharing your work, also say that here. Next up, we are going to take a look at Elizabeth's site here. So we have BDH Designs, B do have. And so right off the bat, there's a few different, I have an identity question. So are we, B do have designs, or are we Elizabeth Morgan? Because that's a little bit, or are you as Elizabeth Morgan, like the principal designer for this company? So the other thing is this says designs, and here it says social media content curator and social media manager, which isn't exactly in alignment with BDH Design, in as much as design here isn't reflected in any of these titles there. So it's a little confusing as to what is this site about? What does this company do? Who is this individual? It's sort of raised a little bit more questions than it's answered in the beginning. So here we see a photo of you, and just assuming now that you do social media content and also social media management. Scrolling down, we've got samples of work. So website building here. I clicked on that image and it took me back up to the top here. So definitely some navigational issues that you'll want to address. So anytime website building, a sample of a website I built. Here, really all we see is that it's a logo that when I click on it doesn't take me to a website for me to see that work. And so it's a disconnect. It's a disconnect for me as a viewer. And at this point, I'm confused and I don't know where to go to actually see your skill set here. My recommendation for anytime you're showing website work is to do a mock-up of what it looks like on a screen. So show me a monitor here, or show me a phone, show me a mock-up of what this site site looks like on the screen, and then say, view live site, and give me a link to it. So then I could poke around. A website is valuable not just for how it looks, but how it behaves and how it functions, because it's interactive design. So the ease of the navigation lets me know that you are skilled in that area. Scrolling down, we have some of the ads that you've created. Looking at, so here we have Be-Do have coaching, right? So like, again, like for me, it's a little bit more of like a question mark, as I'm not really sure what the exact brand is here. Is it designs? Is it coaching? Is it social media? You have the makings of several different businesses here, or several different things that you can promote. And I think that, an opportunity would be just to sort of clarify that for your visitor. We can see that you've done infographics. When I click on this, again, it's sending me up to the top. My expectation is that it would open up in a larger window so that I could see and see it in its full form, full display, and not be cut off. So here we've got some of your sample posts for social. So all of this stuff looks great. When you're talking social media, and this is something that I shared with some campus students in class the other day, you do a lot of things. You're a content creator, you're a strategist. Many times you are dealing a lot with analytics and data, and showing your impact as a social media manager has a lot to do with saying, this was my strategy, this was the time period that it was implemented, and these were the results. And so I think that if that's a skill that you want to show, showing a snapshot of your work over time to say, like, this is the effect, this is the impact that I had with this company or with this brand, that they gained X number of followers or got this much engagement, would be where you would want to go. So under my services, so you talk about using social media here, and just as a social media assistant, you can do these things. All right, so like you kind of break it down a little bit more too, saying that like social is the primary, but I can do these other things as well. And I like that you are offering sort of customizations and pricing that way. Again, when you are talking social media, a lot of times people don't understand what that fully entails. I appreciate that you are detailing that, right, by providing this bulleted list. You're kind of letting me know that you're for hire in this way, in this area. This looks like it's an image, because I can't highlight the text, so I'm wondering kind of where this came from, and why it's added as an image here and not just text on the page. You're probably going to find that it's a lot easier to update and move around if this is just text on a page and not picture of words. So here we're going to go to the About page. Introduction to you as Elizabeth Morgan, talk about your military experience, excuse me, a little bit about your, your background and how your communications work ties in, and that, you're here at Full Sail. So this is a nice introduction to you. I'm going to go, it seems like I can, it's kind of like, there we go, info. Here it's a contact form. So I'm kind of like jumping around. Info, I think, is probably not the easiest, most intuitive title. I think contact would be more appropriate there. And it's kind of taken me so far away from where I was, and not sure why it's in a drop down, right? So I would go ahead and say contact right over here. So style guide, I'm going to go ahead and select that, and you give me the ability to download it. But so like, what's the purpose of downloading it here, instead of just showing it to us on the screen? You're throwing up a block. You're giving me an extra step to have to get this. And, like, depending upon someone, how much time they have to review your site, it's one thing to just look at it because it's there on the page. It's another thing to download it, then go find it somewhere on your computer and open it up. Part of interactive design is making it as easy as possible for people to get what they want when they come to your site. So my recommendation is just to put it there. All that being said, why are you showing the style guide? Is it the style guide for this site? Because that's an internal thing. Like, that's what you know about, like, it's kind of like your style Bible. It's what you base your aesthetic off of, but that's not something that you kind of show the general public. So I just kind of have a question about the purpose of that anyway. Projects. So here it's kind of taking me down to the samples of work. I think that identity needs to be clarified here on the site. I think that your navigation needs to be updated to be a little more intuitive in both the naming convention and how it functions. You've got everything here. Just in the way it's presented, though, there are the points of disconnect that could be clarified. Next up, so Emily Armstrong. So super fun, kind of kitschy design here. Recognize this strong brand, because your resume definitely reflected consistency there. The first thing that I noticed, though, is that, you're a strong designer, but we have so much repetition right off the front. So we've got Emily Armstrong, and then a bigger, like not quite as crisp version of this particular signage, so to speak. And there's some redundancy there. What it does is push, more of the navigational options, right? So this is redundant too, about resume, because I could get that here as well. This is your high value real estate area, meaning that it's the most important place that people are going to visit on your site. From here, they can, scroll, they can pick one of these, or they can click away. And so you want to give them the best snapshot possible of who you are and what it is that you do just by them being within this window. And I think that you would, it would be more advantageous for you to go ahead and show some of your work right here instead of making me click to several other places to find it. As I scroll down, we see a little bit of info, right? And so just offering a little bit of like whimsy here too, again, with the style. It's beautifully designed, but I haven't really seen much other than like the site itself, the brand itself is nice. I don't see anything right off the bat. My recommendation would be to move some of your featured work right up here in the front. Like this stuff looks great, everything that you've done, but still I have not seen, other than this site being a work of art, I have not seen any of your work yet. Right, so let's go to work together. Florida National News, Good Morning Beckettville. So here's some great stuff. I'm just going to go ahead and click on one of these. It says you did graphic design and video work. So what I love about this is that you introduce the client and you talk about what it is that you did for them. Here, you also give more context to the content that you're showing me here on the page. So when we finally get to your content, it's fantastic, but you've really made me jump through a lot of hoops to get there. And my recommendation would be for you to streamline that process significantly. On the About page, we have just this lovely little backstory about you, but like a super pixelated kind of blurry image here. It's beautiful. It's, it looks like it might even be a wedding photo, but you've got sort of this retro vibe going on, retro kitschy vibe going on. And so the wedding photo almost seems a bit like a stylistic disconnect here, in as much as this is like elegant and sophisticated, and the style of your site overall takes on a more fun, whimsical type of aesthetic. So for resume here, seeing kind of all this drop in, this looks great, beautifully designed. You do a nice job of having all of this stuff be I call it editable, but that just means that it is text on the page, and text on the page means that it can be indexed by search engines like Google, and that means you can be found, as your name will now be associated with all these things, so this is well done. Last but not least, we've got a simple contact form. Let's work together. Something for you to be thinking about is that, you want to get people to contact you to maybe do freelance. I think if you can, offering some idea about pricing up front would be valuable for folks. Overall, this is stellar, and I've seen it grow. With a few small tweaks, this is going to be an even stronger demonstration of your work and abilities. So here we're going to take a look at Rafe's video and photography site, Rafe Productions. We got the home page here. We have a video about highlights, contact. You give us kind of this little bit of teaser information, which is awesome. But then we have like a video here that has kind of a compelling visual to start with. It doesn't look like this is a custom thumbnail. So maybe be thinking, if you can put a custom thumbnail in here, what would it be that would make me want to press play on this? I'm curious. I'm pressing play. It's loading in. What is this video going to show me? All right, so it's kind of, what's the word, loading up and stalling out on me a little bit. But so like we get kind of this cool video to start, but like I'm really taking a leap of faith to press play here, right? Like you haven't given me anything that like really identifies who you are. Your sort of abbreviated name, Rafe, like people might not read that and know that that is your first name. And so like they might not know that this is an individual versus like a production company. And I don't know if that's something that you feel like you need to clarify right off the bat, but it's something that, you know, I'm thinking about because I know you as an individual and that a lot of people don't know how to pronounce this as Rafe. And so like maybe they would think this is Roth Productions. And so like just getting a little bit just a little bit more intentional about the presentation of your identity to start out. You're showing this video, but what is it that you want me to know about it? What's the title? What did you do? How am I supposed to take this away and have an understanding of what, you want me to know about your work? So jumping over to highlights here, it is going to pull in several different videos that you've created. We've got your analog photography work, which is super cool to see. I'm a big fan of your work. I would like to see more in terms of a description of what it is that you did on each of these pieces. I know you to be amazingly, capable, full featured, I guess. You do a lot of camera work, you do editing work, you do everything work. And so if you did all of that work for all of these videos, we need to know, because that gives me more of an idea that I can hire you for multiple things rather than just one. Going to go to the About page. This is loading in. There you are. Gives us a little bit of the backstory. I just would really recommend maybe including some of this bio information on the homepage, and then a featured video. And in that featured video, tell me why you're featuring it, right? What do you want me to know about this video? Clients, so this is loading in, showing me you've done some work with these folks. I don't think this needs its own page, right? Like this could go as like a banner on your homepage at the bottom. Simple contact form. Basically, I think this should be your homepage with a featured video and then your clients listed down here, and you could have more of a highlights page. In as much that like kind of focusing it down on who you are and what you can do would be, an objective moving forward. Always great. You have no shortage of cool things that you can point to. The work here is just in figuring how do you package and promote that, and the identity of that all. Next up, we're going to take a look at Sarah Babbage's site. So Sarah's a writer and an editor. And so it would make sense that when I open up Sarah's website that it's going to take me to articles. So these look really great. You have just been really killing it with your writing lately. I can appreciate the diversity in the things that you write about. Moving forward, if you have more of a body of work that you want to curate under a specific topic, I see that you do have this wrestling blog, right? But if you're doing a lot of personal essay stuff and some different things, and if it makes sense to kind of put them all in the same pot, that's one thing. But people are probably going to start following you just based upon how you write about a specific topic they're interested in. So you might want to curate that information in a specific way. Or maybe you've already done it just like this and I didn't click on this yet. So technical writing. So here, I guess it's like just bringing it in by tags or categories. Okay, so this is great. You've done this in such a way that if I want to read everything that Sarah has about education or wrestling, that's jumping in. So like running back to the home page, right? So let's go back here to the start. They're all coming in and it looks like it's just coming in by date, right? So this is kind of an arbitrary way to showcase your work without saying like, these are the latest things that I've done. You might want to just put like your favorite articles, like maybe just your featured articles up here, so that like if I have all of these to choose from, maybe I don't choose the one that you think is the best. So maybe just put your favorites up here on the front. A little bit about you. So background, talking about your educations, your programs, your skills, your experience. So it's, getting longer and longer. We've got your media kit. So there is no shortage of things here that support your talent and ambition in the writing arena. I might move the image up a little bit higher up into this space, just because as we're continuing to kind of move down, it's a while before we get to where you are. There's a lot of ads on your site, and as you move forward, you might consider getting on a paid platform, one that allows you to have it be a bit more clean, so there's not as much distraction from your work itself. And if you are starting to get a lot of traffic, you could choose what ads to put on there and maybe monetize some of that for additional revenue. Contact is jumping in, just a simple form. I like that you have this kind of like call to action about like how you'd like to help folks. If you're considering it in a business related capacity, think about adding some pricing. Wrestling blog is going to take me to another location. So I think when I first started talking about like curating your work topically, I had so much on my mind about what you write about with wrestling, and that you do so much for it. And if any of these other kind of categories start to progress in that area and become something you want to tend to on its own, think about doing something like you've done there for wrestling. Last but not least, I don't really see your logo identity on here. Is it on the contact page? I see it down here, right? I see it kind of coming in here. So maybe there's an opportunity for you to add that somewhere up in the header of what we see here. Just checking that your social media links, yes, they are in fact connected to the other places online where we can get in touch. So definitely strong, Sarah, and just a few small things for you to consider how to make this work for you. Here we've got Views of a Madman. Gustavo. I need to see a brand or an identity up here in the top. This is the first place that I'm looking to see where I am. And so like this isn't a cover page, meaning that like there's nothing else for me to see. I could very quickly jump off this page, and when I go to the About page, I see your name here. Oh, nice photo, by the way. And I see your resume here, but like you lose the identity of the site that we're on up here in this top part, right? So just put your name right up here. We've got Views of a Madman, and you kind of see, do you see how to scroll a little bit to see like director, photographer, writer? There's nothing here that lets me know at all that's what you do, and that's a missed opportunity to let me know immediately this about you, right? So I'd go ahead and put your name right up here. Keep this Views of a Madman and move this stuff up a little bit higher so I don't have to scroll to see it. So here is some of your photography. It looks fantastic. I appreciate the depth within the photos that you take and that you put a quote on them. It kind of adds this very interesting storytelling component that is cool, for you as a writer-director combo. We got this photo of you. My recommendation would be to move this image over a little bit and put that text right beside it so I don't have to scroll to see it. Resume. This is just like how they taught you to do it in film, but we talked about in class maybe the benefit of explaining more so what a boom operator does, or what you did as a production assistant, like the specifics behind that. And then maybe also just linking some of these projects so that you can see the output of that work. So here we have photography, and we've got some of your videos. If I click on this, what happens? It brings me into several different videos. You've given me titles, right? I would really love to see just a brief 2-sentence description and a list of the roles that you played on this. What did you do for these? What part of the crew did you play? Last but not least, simple contact form. Why are people contacting you? So just get specific. Is this just for you to show? If it is, then maybe you don't need a contact form, but if it is for you to get more work, set that up here on the contact page. It's beautiful. If you like just a couple small tweaks and this is at a really super place. All right, so next up we have Parker Gillette. So first things first, we've got identity in words, but not really in anything else, right? So I don't see anything related to your work, nothing featured here. The tagline is media creative, but nothing to, nothing to kind of back that up with your work yet here on the homepage. This is your highest value real estate area, so you want clear identity, clear navigation, which you have, but then something to kind of let me know where I've landed and give me more of a feel for that. So there's an opportunity with that moving forward. If you had one thing that you wanted to show me or one thing that you wanted me to know as a site visitor, what would it be, and how could you give me a glimpse of that here? Maybe it's not the full thing, maybe it's a teaser, but it's enough to let me know that like the time that I'm going to spend exploring is worth it, right? So I'm just going to learn more. It's going to take me to your about page. So I see an image. And then a bunch of dense text here. This is a great story, but how can you break this story up in a way that's a bit more palatable, right? You've talked to me, or you've said on the front that you are a media creative, but there's like nothing here that I get it in story form with a little bit of like what you're interested in, but still not much of an idea about who you are and who I know you to be. So portfolio, this is going to take me to, we don't need this page, right? So it should be just a folder and not a placeholder here in this that's spelled wrong there. Jump to video. So here we have Campfire Quest, and you give me all these episodes, but and these look fun, right? Except you don't tell me anything about what Campfire Quest is. And so I have no idea if this is something that I want to watch. I mean, clearly I know that I would want to watch it myself personally, but let's say I was a generic visitor. I have no idea what Campfire Quest is. Therefore, no appreciation for all of these. And also, where is episode 2? That one's not fitting in here. And so give me the context to understand and appreciate the content that you have created. Campfire Quest is one of the coolest things going on in MCBS right now, and one of the coolest things that I've seen come out of student initiated projects. And so more explanation, more package and promotion of that is needed. I'm going to click on this. It's going to open this, right? And so it gives me this thumbnail, episode 1, go to link. So it's going to send me the YouTube page here. Now, you really, 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 really made me work hard to get here to some of your media creative work, and then you send me somewhere else entirely. So, definitely an opportunity to streamline and make it easier for me to get the goods. Why aren't these embedded into this page? And do we need to see all of them? We probably need to see your favorite one, or maybe it's just a clip. Maybe it's a teaser video of all the different clips, and then a link to the YouTube page would be, probably your best bet in getting someone intrigued about all that you guys do for Campfire Quest. So resume. Lots of skills, lots of experience. So, this looks great. It is selectable, which means it can be indexed, which means search engines can find you. So all that's great. Certainly, I don't know if this goes under portfolio. I think that it probably deserves its own top level navigation link there. And then contact. This looks like a work in progress. Clearly I know how involved you are in so many different projects and things. So let's sidebar about the best way to, to promote Campfire Quest and, paint more of a picture of all it is that you guys do. All right, Lauren. So home about contact, Lauren Reed. We've got this image here, just really kind of beautiful, ethereal, photography. There's nothing here that kind of identifies you as, on your resume you talked about being a creative director and a photographer, I believe. And here we have your name, but no contextualization of this, right? I'd like to see your name either up higher, because it's like now floating like 1/3 the way down, and the navigation to be under it. So if you're going to go center, or move your name up in this area and have your links over here. And add that thing about being a photographer and creative director, because that's going to immediately contextualize what I'm looking at. Because without it, it says Lauren Reed, and then I come here and then I see a picture of Eileen, right? And so people might just assume that that is you, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and click Freezer. It's gonna bring me over to a gallery. And so you did like a really cool shoot, right? And I love that you gave it a name and that you're kind of contextualizing it. From a usability standpoint, on the homepage, as I start to scroll over, it disappears, right? Like, is there a way to not have this photo do that? Because it's kind of like I don't get to see it and fully appreciate it, maybe for all that it is and all the time that I want to spend looking at it. Right? So like, can you make it so that it doesn't disappear, that maybe just a kind of a link comes up on it? You know, something for you to explore, just like the usability of what it is that you're showing. Like, this page is a lot more usable because see, like, I'm hovering over it and they don't disappear. So, you know, if there's a way that you can figure that out, I think it would be advantageous. Jumping to the About page. So who you are, you talk about this stuff here, but know that people are going to see this homepage and experience it before they get to this and get to understanding this. So do yourself a favor and give the context to more fully appreciate what we see on the homepage. You know, you're wildly talented. Notice that as I scroll that we have a layering issue here, where this content is obscured by your logo. Again, I think that this should go up at the top. And I think that it should have a background behind it, so that like maybe it's just a solid white background so that the text disappears there. Last but not least, let's just jump to the contact page. Simple form. We've got your Instagram here, so another way that people can keep in touch. Notice again that when I'm scrolling here, it gets kind of messy with the layering of these objects. I want to, if this is a business, right, again, talk about like the workflow of what it would mean to hire you, potentially prices, potentially what would you need to know. You know, be intentional about the type of contact that you're asking for. You've got so many like wonderful photo shoots here, but just the way that they're loading in makes it difficult for me to enjoy. I think that like a better introduction to you and your work is to come up with a single image that represents this photo shoot, Fake Love. Give me like a large thumbnail and say Fake Love, and then give me this contextualization, right, that comes underneath it. When I click on that, I go to a full gallery of all of the images. And so that your homepage is just like, you know, a single large image for each photo shoot, and then it links me to the full gallery. Overall, you've got very beautiful work. It's very clear to see the creative direction in all it is that you do. So just like keep running in this direction for sure. A few simple tweaks is going to make this even stronger. Last but not least, we've got Zach's site. So storyteller extraordinaire. You've got a super big header up here at the top, and then kind of like a tiny logo. We get the introduction of your name being Zach here. I might go ahead and recommend that you include it next to your logo up here at the top, and make this banner just a little bit smaller. Go into your design, your site styles, and adjust the height on this, because what it's doing is it's pushing this other content, right? So like this great photo, this contextualization of who you are. Storyteller is one word. And just like this little background about you, it's pushing it down on the page, so I'm having to scroll instead of being able to see it right off the bat right here in the front. So this is the home page. Under portfolio, I've got writing and music blogs. So this is pulling up each of these posts. So like I'm going to click on it. We've got Power of the Individual. And then we've got this image kind of popping through here. I love that, you know, that you have your writing up here. In Squarespace, anytime you have an image, it's going to default it to going full width because of it being a responsive design platform. If you want this to only display in a smaller, you know, like in a sizing about like where this cursor is going, you would need to drag that in the interface, and I can show you how to do that and position that. Otherwise you get these huge images, and like if they're not super high quality to begin with, it's going to make it look a little bit pixelated like we see here. Under portfolio, I want to go to just check out another one to see. So here we're seeing basically the same thing with the image, that it's going, all full screen here. I want to show you how you can make a few changes to kind of make it so that it's not this big interrupting block of what people are here for, which is your writing, right? Your writing should take prominence and, in terms of position and styling on the page rather than the image, because that's what you're trying to show me. Music blog's taking me elsewhere. We've got a totally different setup, your musical journey. We've got your album reviews. I just want you to kind of notice the difference in the experience of like going from this site, which is like fully clean and fully yours. There's no ads, to all of a sudden, like there's all of this stuff that pops up. Like as you get out there in the world and maybe have a little bit of money, because that's all it really takes, is a little bit of money to get a paid subscription to one of these sites and make it so that you're cleaning up all of this ad stuff. Like, do you want toenail cream, toenail fungus, right, to be associated with your music blog? It's kind of funny, but like that might not be what you want to have happen when people come visit. Cool to see your there's just like so much happening here. Like here we are with toenail fungus again, and other types of ads and things. So definitely you guys save your pennies so that you can get rid of all the ads. So here we have the articles. It's kind of loading in. We've got some of the album artwork. Appreciate the storytelling that you do in each of things. But what's interesting is that that your writing is kind of being obscured by all the little things that are popping up, right? And so you're like scrolling and you're not sure if you're looking at an ad or you're looking at the text of the article. Think about your user experience and think about how easy it is. I want you to notice the difference of what it would mean to read something in this space versus the other one. Moving forward, just be conscious of that. Last but not least, simple contact page, contact form about how to get in touch, serious business inquiries only. So you're going to get a high five for me on this because I think that people should be intentional. Right now you are kind of putting yourself out there and you're making a statement, right, by saying that I'm serious and that I believe that my skills are marketable and that I should be hired for my creativity and my writing. And I appreciate the explaining of that there. Overall this is very strong with a few subtle things here and there. It's going to get to an even better place. So if you guys have any questions about this feedback, please feel free to holler at me. Otherwise, the expectation is that you move this site forward to its next best place by your next portfolio class. For those of you who are in portfolio 6, that means by portfolio 7. Ideally, you're not going to be doing too much tweaking of your site in that month because you're going to be looking for a job, and when you go to apply for a job and you want to showcase your portfolio site, it should already be done. Make those changes, make them now while they're fresh, make them now while you have a little bit more time before you start looking for those jobs, and let me know how I can support you.